Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the December 2nd Board of Sewer Commissioners meeting. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's 6:30-ish. Roll call.
Sandy Slavin.
And Jim Gibberti. So there's three of us. We have a quorum. Do we have minutes from the previous meeting?
Do not have minutes. I've in contact with Christiana where they are being worked on,
Okay.
and we'll have them. They will be caught up shortly.
Okay. The sewer business, we have the multi-state electric contract.
Is this a renewal, guy?
No, we do them every year, but when they go, I'm sorry, after 3 years, we have to redo the whole thing. So it's year to year.
So they go up much?
I think it's 105,
105.
yes, which is a tremendous rate for electricians. If it sounds high, hire an electrician.
I think that's what we had last year's
I think it was in
contract
that-
also.
In that range, yes,
Yeah, if I remember.
That's 24 hours a day?
correct. Other than holidays gets a little tweaky because he's got to bring somebody in, but I can call him at night or whatever, I can call him, yeah. It's pretty good, I can't complain.
Make a motion, we accept this contract as written.
For the record, can you please identify the name of the service we're contracting with?
Multi-state electrical contractor.
Thank you.
Is that a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
I
3 zippy. I want to go with, skip to the sewer business not reasonably anticipated 48 hours and go on the NOREL service, which is fire alarm system, which I believe is an item. Didn't we discuss this before?
We discussed getting rid of.
And we voted on it.
I want to be clear, we voted on a service contract to service the equipment.
Right.
This contract specifically speaks to overhauling the system and bringing the outside system in compliance with the new state codes mandated by the fire departments. We've got to go from the old boxes so when we go from the old boxes, the internal components within the unit has to be taken care of also. And that speaks to the cost of this contract.
Is this considered capital?
I don't know, I would consider it capital. I don't know what to consider.
Yeah, I
See,
would.
that's the day, I don't know, I'm gonna tell you, this is regular, fire alarm system maintenance, the plan is everyday business. So capital can be considered, anything I buy, I can buy a pump for 40,000, that could be considered capital. I'm not so sure. But I buy them all the
But-
time, so.
I'm sorry, slower for me, please. So this is $59,000 for a contract to upgrade our fire alarm system
That is correct,
and bring it in compliance,
that is correct.
just at the plant?
At the plant, yes. Which encompasses reprogramming the boxes.
Wait, update the fire alarm system and bring it into compliance with what, the town? The fire?
State fire marshal code through this fire department local.
As this is essentially built in, I would consider this capital. This isn't,
Yeah, plant capital, annual capital,
yeah,
I don't know.
Here's our problem, we can't spend funds unless they're approved at town meeting if they're capital. This isn't even on our capital plan.
okay, what's under,
We have a replacement of a fire alarm system for
There it is.
$150,000, but that's not been approved at town meeting.
So, we don't approve anything on town meeting until we actually do it, but capital plan, submissions of capital plans are done routinely. 5-year
I
plans,
know
10-year.
that, but we
okay, so I
can't
don't-
spend the money until it's approved at town meeting.
doesn't, I don't.
Jimmy, am I wrong? I mean, theoretically, yes, you have approval for capital planning to have this identified as future capital, but until it's approved at town meeting, we cannot expend.
If this is an item that's coming out of the budget, regardless of the line item it's coming out of, the budget has already been approved at town meeting, therefore, that gives
So
us
which
the...
budget is this coming out of? Because at
this-
capital planning meetings, more than once, we've
If this
said,
comes out of the operational budget, then it's fine. It's
it doesn't
capital item.
say. I can't find the funding source in the document.
Well, I wouldn't put it in the document. This is a contract between us and the contractor who's on the state contract bid list. And so we just have have him do the work because we already have an existing contract, but I wouldn't tell him.
No,
the
but there's
money's coming.
nothing in here from you to tell me the funding source of this $59,000.
Outside contractors, which is in my budget.
Jimmy,
He can put it where, basically, he can put it there, or he can put it under capital, under his budget, which is a budget line item that's already been approved.
okay, so this is 2022, 2023?
2022, I'm doing it now.
Okay, so what line item is it on the 22?
Outside contractors. We have a line item which is
I'm
annual.
trying to find it.
Well, that'd be 2023, but it's in 2021 in there, but yeah, it's there.
I'm trying to find it, as to what the budget was and how much has been spent against that budget.
Because we'll probably overspend it anyways, we do every year, but that's beside the
Yeah,
point.
outside contractors for 22 says 0. For 21, it says 252,000 on that line item. In 22, it says 0,
Well,
and you're budgeting for 350,000 in 23.
So in 22, we just didn't put the numbers in, so that's why it says 0.
So this is coming out of your outside contractors line item, and we have no idea whether or not you've exceeded the budget.
We'll probably exceed it, we exceed it every year, but that's beside the point.
So when I go into capital planning next week, I will bring this up again, because it's my understanding that even if the line is approved on the budget for capital expenditures, it must be as an individually approved at town meeting. Jimmy, I'm just letting you know, I will bring that up at our capital planning meeting, because we have more than once said, even if the line item is approved, it isn't approving a particular project, which is what town meeting would approve. Okay, funding from outside contractors.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second on this?
I'm not happy, but I will make the motion to sign the contract for $59,000 for an upgrade to the fire alarm system at the plant.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
300. Who, me? How's that? Okay,
So this mean on the capital plan, this thing called replace fire alarm system in 2024 is now covered by this?
Yes,
So I can remove it from capital plan?
yes, we're done.
I know, I shouldn't be combining my committees.
Well, you can't help yourself, so it's.
I know I can't.
Weston and Sampson says SCADA for $195,000.
Correct.
This is replacement of the existing the parts and utilities and
Yes, all the parts
programming.
that are in the computers, the logic, the CPP1, CPP2, CPP3, and CPP4, which each individual is around between $40,000 and $50,000 of replacement. SCADA's been going down consistently, and so it's all antiquated, and it's very problematic when it goes down. So we just have to replace it. It went down about 2 weeks ago. It was down earlier in the week, so it's something we just have to do. We can no longer let it go.
So for $194,000, What are they gonna do for us?
They're gonna go to each controller, so
It just, in general, update software,
they're gonna update hardware,
hardware.
yes, which ties into the software.
I'm just trying to see in this contract says what they're going to do.
Scope of services.
Oh, there it is. So is this the scooter repair for 200,000 that we approved in spring of '21
That's correct. This is in the budget, capital,
and approved at town meeting in spring '21?
yes. It was on my list of items that I add to the capital.
Just that, it's already gone through town meeting and it's been approved as such, so I have no problem with proceeding with this one, which is different from the, sorry, scuba replacement for $4 million that you've got planned in '23.
So that's a bigger issue, and so I'm trying to, by doing this, it gives us a longer life, we're gonna keep running, and we're gonna reevaluate
Okay.
the cost of the complete
Replacement.
replacement of everything.
So this is a stopgap to get us through where we can formally
Absolutely.
bring everything with new, okay.
Absolutely. And when we go greater, what we're spending today is not going to be wasted, it'll be incorporated into what we're gonna do in the future.
So I make a motion, we approve the contract to Weston Sampson for $194,000.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 0, 0.
So I have paperwork for everybody to sign before you leave.
Yep. Okay, where would I just put it?
Do you want to take care of the rest of the paperwork that's in the packet that's to be done under 48 hours?
Yeah, what have you got there, Sandy? The Bourne? Okay, I've got these,
The,
capital costs for Bourne.
This is for FY '22, we're not done with the year, is this just half year?
wait, what exactly
Yeah,
which one?
well, the one I'm looking at right now is the capital cost FY '22 for Bourne.
The $188,477.53?
Right,
That's correct.
Is it for half the year, or is it expected for the year?
It's the entire, once a year, they pay a fee, and it's $188 for the cost of upgrading the treatment plant back in 2005.
Okay, so this is for a prior capital project, and this is an annual fee we pay?
Annual fee,
I
yes.
make a motion, we approve the billing of the town of Bourne for $188,477.53 for their share of a capital cost for the water pollution control facility upgrade.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's one of them. Then I have the, let's go to the same thing again on 22. Capital cost for the EQ basin, $40,375.11.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's the annual cost again, is a capital. The supporting documents are on the pages behind it, which speaks to the cost that we'll be paying annually for this. Our cost, you can see, is 80, whatever it is, 80-something percent. Theirs is the 82, and there's the 19, so this is their cost. We broke out the numbers. We gave Bourne all the backup to this. I think it was last year or the year before, we sent them documentation saying that it was coming, and here it is. So this will be their annual cost for the next 10 years, a 10-year loan. for the upgrade of the.
You say for the next 10 years, you mean this will be annually for the next 10 years?
That's correct. It's for the
Okay,
next 10
I
years.
just got, this is good for 10 years. It's not, it's just
No, it's an
first
an-
of 10 payments, yeah.
Yes, if you, yeah, we backed it up, that's why we put the backup, you can see exactly what it is, the 82% and the 17.9 and what the actual costs are.
I make a motion, we approve the billing to the town of Bourne for the EQ basins for their share of $40,375.11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just for clarification, at the end of the 10 years, Bourne's total cost is $311,000, and the town of Wareham's total cost is $1.4 million.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Dick.
Guy, what's the status of the
Peter, they're not hearing you.
status of the meter pump? Am I not on? There I am.
It's running, and actually, I was supposed to get some data today, but Russ didn't send me any, but it's in and it's running, yes, we're metering.
Will that change this percentage?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay,
Why not?
Because this percentage is dealing with capital costs, that meter is dealing with flow. And the document that you have with your budget speaks to a flat fee now for the IMA. It used to be based on flow, and it was changed to a flat fee.
So regardless of how much they use, they are only going to pay the flat fee.
That is correct.
If they under or over, it's the flat fee.
That is correct. And let me suggest, I don't think it will ever be under, but over, yes. And one of the contentions over the years has been the meter that they bill off of never being calibrated, and so we actually didn't know what we were getting. I think in the last meeting, we showed you the video of the excess of I&I coming at us, so we don't really know. And so we're hoping through this metering, we'll get some concept of what's coming at us from Bourne, and we'll go from there.
But then, but we've already got this contract, so regardless of how much they give us, we're not going to change this bottom line of the 420,000 a year.
Not till the next negotiations, because remember, this was
How
done
often do we negotiate with Bourne on our usage?
every 5 years, and
5 years.
we're well overdue, so.
Well, when was this current?
I don't understand when we're gonna change this.
2019, June 11th.
2019, well, hasn't been 5 years.
Well, at that point of 2019 was our 5 years, so we're supposed to get the negotiations, and this was made between the two town administrators back at that time. So I don't believe that this replaces anything. This is, in the IMA, they have the right to
So when do,
administer.
when do we renegotiate our contract with Bourne if it's a 5-year window? When's it, it's not 2019 plus 5.
I can't answer that question.
I'm sorry.
I can't answer
Sorry,
that question.
Guy, I
I'm not
just,
sure, I think.
It's
okay, I
between the
think it'll be-
selectmen's and the commissioners, and I wish I could answer that question. I'd like to say it's well overdue and it should have been done, and because there's a lot of,
well, I guess when we
things
come up,
going
we'll
on.
get some flow information, we'll know whether or not we need to really renegotiate.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, the next is the town of Bourne usage fee billing, that's what Guy was just addressing. $420,250.
Okay, I make a motion, we bill Bourne for $420,250 for the FY '22 sewer usage flat fee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
No one leaves until they sign the paperwork.
right. I'm gonna put the budget discussion into the superintendent's report and let you go ahead, Guy.
okay, it's no problem. So we'll discuss everything, we'll discuss it,
Yeah.
that'll be good. This is, you all have a copy, I believe, of the departmental expense budget that is on the shared data that we submit to the town. This is what was submitted to the town. And so, I submit this under the shared data, and this is seen by the town administrator as he prepares for his budget. There's a lot that we have to discuss that's in conjunction with this, and I'll share with you an idea. I'll actually give it to you in writing, but this is a draft, and this is not to be made public because it's a work in progress, and I'm a little nervous about putting things out there that aren't finalized. But this is just so you have a concept of where we are, where we're gonna be going. This is, for our enterprise budget, this is a worksheet that I use. And I'm gonna take these back when I'm done, just so you all know. This is, it's a draft, and it's like, really marked up. Just to give you some ideas, is we work with revenues. I try to figure out what our revenues are, and then I try to figure out what our expenses are, what our obligations, whether it's our O&M obligations, our obligations to our debt, and our in-kind services, what we're getting for committed monies from the betterments, and what I have to take out of betterment reserves to make up the difference to meet the betterments and the debt. And so we're playing with this. It'll let you know basically how many EDUs we have, and the cost is, 646. I do a multiplier, and that's the revenues that we're getting from the users. And then you have the septage and grease estimate. That number I put in as revenue, and then Bourne's capital is revenue, Bourne's operating is revenue, and then you'll see the betterment numbers, you'll see the total revenue, you'll see the in-kind services reduce the revenue, and then that's my bottom line revenues that we'll be taking in, and then I go to the bottom half as expenditures, and I try to make them balance. And that's where we are. So there's a ways to go because there's some meetings, because some of these numbers aren't current. I have to wait to get some numbers from the assessor's offices, what their project their collecting of betterment is going to be, and working with the town treasurer. I have to get numbers in-kind services, what that's going to be. So this is just, for me, a placeholder to see where I am, and then we'll finalize these numbers as we move along, just to give you some idea of how I'm doing this.
Then we just talked about that Bourne IMI is a contract per year. Why is it different in 23 than 22?
22 is already done. We add 2.5% a year, so I just threw a number out there. Yeah,
So it's not a
goes up.
flat rate, it's a variable flat rate
flat rate
with an 2.5, okay, thank you. So
2.5% escalator.
Yeah, that's
just,
done.
I was under one number, now it's in the,
You still need it. We'll go over it, but I just,
No,
I
I'm-
don't
I-
want this to be public.
no.
I don't
that's
want
okay.
this to leave anywhere.
I just wanted to,
I want to give you an idea how we, the exercise, 'cause it gets, we just don't pick numbers. And as I start finalizing the numbers, I'll give you the copies, because then they can become public. I have no problem with that. I just don't want any of this to go public now, because people will have expectations and ideas, and it's hard to change someone's expectation once they have a number in their head. So that's why I don't like to give out numbers until we're sure.
isn't your number on septic and grease a little low?
Little low? It is. Last year, we
That's all
did
right.
probably about $300,000 more than that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like to spend every penny I get.
No, that's fine, I just want to make sure we're on the same page, that's all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you look at that number specific to septic and grease, we took in a lot more, and we're on pace this year to do a lot more.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we are, but I have a hard time expending all that, because I'm writing a budget for 2023. And this is last year's numbers hard, this year's we're on pace. If I don't do the same thing in 2023, I'm in trouble. So I try to do a number that's, and I'll show you one more thing that I use. I bought my budget book, and this is my budget book, and everything in here is what the material I'm using to write my budget. So one of the things that I use, I have debt schedule, which I use quite a bit, and I take all my debt, my debts, and then I figure out what they are. And this is my debt schedule. But one thing, and Bob, I'll try to speak up for you, but one thing I do, these are my actuals. This is what I've spent over the 4 years. So I take these numbers to try to get some kind of average. So when I make a projection of what I'm going to spend, I kind of look at what's
The average.
happening today, and then what's happened in the last 4 years, and then I try to make a number that may happen next year, because next year's not here yet. So just to give you an idea, so this is, I get these, so I use this tells me the 4 years, I add it up, so there's the average
So
of
that
4
comes from
years.
Mr. Foster?
This
or
comes-
you?
No, we do this in the house, we do this in the house.
Do we ever check to see if it agrees with Mr. Foster and how he's paying the debts?
I do.
Okay.
Just to be frank, that usually the town's 3 months behind us, so I try to use our data, gets more out
So-
than the town's.
So what are we paying in '22 for interest payments on our debt?
I don't have the interest actuality, I have the, you can look it up.
Isn't it on the sheet you just gave us and you returned?
No. It just tells you what the number is. I put on there 12% increase.
Okay,
That's the increase of the debt that so we can see that it's going up. Because now we're paying for the loans that
Yes.
we've taken out, that I'm taking out of
years
the
ago,
budget, so
yeah.
now we're paying for those.
but we're paying very low interest rate, are we not?
Interest rates low, yes.
Yes.
It depends on what we're dealing with. There's one we've got in there for 5%, I saw.
Because I try to
Something
put-
as high as 5%?
Yeah, that's an old one.
That's an old one that we should be pretty much
And
close
we
to being
have some
paid
that are
off.
2.5%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you look at our debt, because
it's all right, we will,
it's sliding down. It's amazing.
well, there's a philosophy out there that if the interest rates are low enough, we should be
Borrow.
borrowing more to keep our interest payment level,
Yep.
as opposed to letting it drop to nothing, and so there's nothing wrong with having a debt.
I'm gonna-
This is what I use. This is
Yeah,
our
okay.
cost over the
Yep.
years. And so you can see, this is my bottom line this year, next year, the year after.
It shouldn't get that low.
So it should buck back up to
Yeah,
stay high.
yes, it should not be that low,
That's it.
especially if the interest rates are under 2%.
That's correct. I agree with you. So this is what we're using to try to make some decisions as we go along. So the budget process is ongoing. I believe, and I'll look at the bylaws, but I believe we have to have it finalized by January something, January 1, January 2, in that area.
Coming up.
Second.
Something like that. We've got a little time, a couple of weeks to finalize all these numbers, and I'll work with Mr. Sullivan to bring these numbers to fruition, and John Foster, and we'll get the hard numbers, and then we'll put them in, and then I'll get them to everybody. You can see the hard numbers and where we're going and all of them. That's where we are with the budget.
Okay, we know where we're at there.
Mr. Chairman, our projects are still going along and on time. We did run into a glitch. We can no longer, at this point, we cannot get 6-inch and 8-inch ductile iron elbows. They're just not available. So the part of the project that we were piping and plumbing and have to use elbows, it comes to a standstill till we get those elbows. We're working up to it and continue on. 6-inch and 8-inch ductile iron is out 8 to 9 months. And other things are coming in the same category as we go along in this project. We put a biofilter out to bid. The original plans call for activated sludge. You don't get it. The time to get activated carbon, to get activated carbon, the lead time is months and months and months, if it's in fact available at all. And once we put that structure in, once the activated carbon was spent and it becomes odorous, there's no way to change it. So we're changing direction and looking for a media that's made in America, has a longer shelf life, and we change directions because we don't know what the future's going to bring, and I don't want to put a situation where we spend all this money and we got a simple thing like an odor control unit, and I can't get parts to keep it running, and we're spewing out odors after spending this money. So we change directions of a biofilter, and we're saying it's going to be made here, the media's got to be here, so we have no problem getting materials. So that's where we are with that. It's kind of interesting and complicated as we go along. This COVID and this parts line that we have going on has been quite the challenge on everything we do. Pumps, if I need a sump pump, I gotta call and hope I can get it in a couple of months, and it makes it difficult. Right now, I got 2 bladder tanks, and the plant water system, it overpressurized and blew the bladders and some piping. We're trying to get tanks. Don't know when we're gonna get them. The plumber's just looking everywhere. And when we get them, we'll get them, and I don't know. And so in the interim, that means our system's down, and I'm using town water, which is, or I should say, city water, which is the water district, which is quite expensive. So we're gonna spend that money until I get ours back up and running, because I can't get components to keep it running. So all this is going on, and we face this on a daily basis on everything we do. So I just want to bring everybody up to speed on that. It's not getting any better. I don't see it getting any easier, but we're going to keep moving forward and doing the very best we can. We're trying to change things like copper and steel. We're trying to go to plastic where we can, Schedule 80 if we can. We're trying to change solder to coupling. We're trying to do some things just to get by until we can get the components we actually honestly need to get the job done. So it's an everyday thing. So that's where we are with that, but everything's moving forward. If you do get a chance to stop by, go back and see what they're doing. It's a chance to see the underground. So under all these tanks and buildings, there's plumbing. And so we're building new basins, and there's plumbing that you will never see again because it's going to be covered. It's going to be gone. And just to have an idea of how much plumbing is underneath these buildings is kind of fascinating. You know, it's kind of interesting. So it just gives you an idea of
There's a
what's
lot of
there.
that plumbing works that's going on underneath. Will that be plastic?
Most of it's ductile iron. That's what's spec'd.
What's the longevity on that stuff?
Ductile iron, gosh, 50 years, 80 years, 100 years.
That's all.
Yeah, there's nothing yet that lasts forever. That in our business, see, it all comes down to the characteristics of what you're putting through the pipe. The more corrosive the material,
Yeah.
the more difficult. The more abrasive the material. You know, and when we talk about pre-treatment and businesses, whatever, we look at the viscosity of the product coming at us because that wears piping. We look at the pH. We look at all the factors that actually deteriorates and corrodes the components that we have to replace. And we try to say to the businesses, here's the impact. You may not see it, but if you're going to decrease the life expectancy of that component by X amount, then you're responsible to pay X amount for the replacement of that component. And that's where we're going with all this. And it's very difficult because the understanding is like, well, no, I don't see it, and I'm not making any damage or harm, but you are, because the very nature of your product says you will create harm, because if pH is below 6, you're destroying things. And so anyways, that's the hard part. That's the hard part of the whole thing. So yeah, so the life expectancy depends on what goes through it. And what we're doing on the filters, that's going to be pretty much benign water. pH is going to be close to neutral, not a lot of abrasive material in it because it's the back end of the plant. So that piping should last, you know, add on to the life, maybe 100 years opposed to the 50 if it was abrasive. In the front of the plant, we're lucky to get 50 years. All right, we've got, I had the folks in recently for all our upfront screenings, and they're gone. They're rotted out. I got stainless steel that's rotted out. It's just gone because the front end is very abrasive. The pH is tough, the grit and everything that comes through is abrasive, and it creates more wear. So that's an issue. So those pipes are history, and that's 1999, 2005. They're done. They're literally done. All the wiring is done. I look at all the boxes, electrical boxes that are spark proof and all this, and they're all done. They're corroded, they're gone, they're done. And so that whole Headworks building is a ticking time bomb. And not only that, everything's antiquated. I can't even get parts for it. They just don't support it anymore.
The Headworks building, that's where they dump where you receive your
Septage goes there, and all the effluent from the pump stations come there. Because it goes through, when it comes from the pump stations, it screens out all the non-flushables, all the grit, and then the water is what's coming from the public and from businesses, whatever, so all that variable. We've just completed our we call local limits, so we've analyzed the wastewater coming into us, and we know everything that's in it. Now we'll take that, and we can set some standards and say, okay, these are the standards. And if your product doesn't meet the standards, then we're either gonna surcharge you, or you're gonna have to get it to the standards before you send it to us. And that's where we are now, so it's pretty.
Well, who's gonna manage that? Who's gonna watch
I was
over
hoping,
that?
I was just thinking, you must have some spare time, and I was gonna come to you and see if you would like to volunteer for that.
It's like having all these rules, but there's no way to enforce them.
Yep.
Never mind.
No, I agree. So we hired a new
Congress would
operator.
make a law.
We just hired, we're looking for more, but you're absolutely right. I have two choices: not do it, or hire a contractor who's having the same problem I'm having and getting help. So,
Talked about having hire someone to go through and manage the grease traps all over the place.
We did.
And that never happened.
Well,
Can't find anybody to
can't
do
find
that.
anybody to do that.
And in the
It's-
meantime, we're having grease issues in a lot of our places.
big issues. I'm trying to work with the Board of Health, and every year, the Board of Health they permit you to be in business if you're a restaurant. We're trying to add to that checklist,
Oh, okay.
pumping records, et cetera, et cetera. So when that list goes out to the businesses, they have to validate and supply information that they're doing their part to get rid of the grease.
So
And
you're
that's a way
working
of
with
catching it.
Patrick to make that part of the Board of Health?
Yes, I'm working with the
Okay.
Board of Health to get that, because it just gives us another eye. And they have to fill it
Okay.
out anyway, so just one more box to check to try to help us out. I met with his administrative assistant, and she said, oh, I can do that easy enough. So we have to utilize whatever we can to try to get the job done. Yeah,
We having equipment problems in the Headworks area? I noticed when I was up there the other day, there was
yeah, that's what I was
stuff all
talking
over
about.
the place.
It's gone. The Headworks building, everything, if you see, you'll see covers off.
Yeah.
There's a main box that we use to meter. I can't even get it. The company said it's antiquated. It's not even made anymore. They said, but we can sell you this new unit for 40 grand that might do the same thing. Well, we can, come back and retrofit it. And that's it. And that's all, that's my only option. So if I'm gonna start piecing at 30, 40 grand, it doesn't make any sense, because I've got to make them compatible and retrofit them. It just makes more sense to just replace the foolish thing, soup to nuts, and it's all compatible. We've got a company coming in, Lakesider, who did the original product, to come and try to get it running again. It just doesn't, it's corroded, and so the computer program isn't doing what it's supposed to. So we're trying to get it repaired. I haven't seen that cost yet. They said, well, we can get it up and running for you. I'm waiting for the cost sheet, and that is going to be, and I'm gonna spend this money to get this up and running with the concept of replacing it, because the whole building replacement is $6 million. So how much money do I spend while I'm waiting to replace the $6 million? I don't know. I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I want to spend some money to get it operational, because right now we're not pulling out I can't, people flush everything, and that's just the nature of the beast. I can't remove it. And the grid, I can't remove it, so downstream, we're having all kinds of issues because we're not doing what we're supposed to upstream. And so that's an issue, and it's all cost. The costs are astronomical. I think right now, for capital expenditure, we're looking at about 17 million for the clarifiers and headworks. And the clarifiers, they're overwhelming the sand filters. We're putting 3 more in. So we're hoping that gives us a stopgap for a while as the flows increase. But that's, that report that we submitted quite a while ago talks through all that stuff. And now some things are today. It was 3 to 5. Well, that 3 to 5 is today. And the headworks is gone. The building is gone. It's gone. It's just rotted, totally rotted out. So we have to act upon that sooner than later. So I got to fund it. And I'm trying to find fund. The budget doesn't fund it. I can't fund it in this budget, so I have to figure out the cost and how much I need to get some seed money to borrow money. And then that's what we're looking at. So I'll work with that. Now,
Well, I guess bake sales are out.
I thought about bake sales, but, I thought of opening up in the back end a marijuana factory. I could probably make tons of money between selling marijuana and beer. I think I could probably make enough money to pay for everything, but I thought of that. That might be the answer for us.
Nips.
That might be the answer for us. have two products for
Jesus
sale, but there's no other option. And the monies that we're getting from the, I think it's COVID money, I think there's so many billions the state's trying to divvy up. And I believe Wareham's portion's about 7 million, the numbers I saw between 6, 8, and 7 million. And the town has to decide how they're gonna spend that money. So what percent's gonna come to the sewer, what percent's gonna go to town, roads, or whatever, that's all that money. And I don't know what we're gonna get, but I'm trying to get some of that money to seed.
There was nothing out there that we could put our oar in for by itself. In other words, just for the sewer department only, per se, for sewer
We're looking,
infrastructure.
yeah, I'm looking at everything. You're talking about funding.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at all the grants, and there's nothing at this point in time. We looked at the EPA. There's some EPA grants coming up, but they're short money, $1 million, less than $1 million, and we do apply for those. But, there's some serious money needs to be spent, so I'd like to get serious money. And I really don't know about the federal infrastructure bill.
Are you saying that Mr. Sullivan is working with the ARPA funds for whatever we might need in this town, even though ARPA, one of the primary components of it was water and sewer?
Water and sewer.
And we don't know if we got any part of that?
Not at this moment. I know that he talked about
I didn't-
what our projects are, but he sold, as I understand, my reading and research, that the town is the sole decision maker is how those funds are to be spent. There's not earmarked. They're not saying, they may suggest something, but I don't think they say where the dollars have to go, as I understand it, my reading. And if someone knows different, I'd like to
So
know.
I don't know what they've applied for. They're not automatically given X amount of millions.
I think that was calculated. I believe.
Coming from the state, federal,
Yes.
or county, because I know Plymouth
Well,
got some pieces.
And I know we're part
I
of Plymouth.
guess we need
and I
some
don't know-
clarification.
Yes. I'm told between Plymouth and the state, it was approximately 6.7 million. Don't quote me on that, that's what I,
And then it's
in
up
my
to the-
research, but it could be.
The town administrator to say how that might,
How that
how
money
we
gets
might
spent.
apply for, it doesn't mean we would be given, but apply for.
So we, in a conversation with, this department and Mr. Sullivan, we could tell them our needs. I'm sure every department head will do that. I'm sure we need a lot of,
Okay.
we need everything. What don't we need? So he has to make some tough decisions as to where that money's actually going to go. So we'll see what happens, and we'll put our 2 cents in, and everybody else will, and he'll make the tough decisions.
That's what you'll get out too.
Now, Guy, you talked about what is coming down the pike from people flushing. I'm hearing more and more about this bamboo toilet paper.
No, we don't
What is
talk
it
about it.
going to, what is it doing to us?
Bamboo toilet paper, it's fibrous. Anything fibrous
is not good.
is not good.
So why aren't we getting the message out there, sorry, people, stop using it?
How
They
do I,
think-
I'm.
Well, how
Let
often
me
do
be
we put-
realistic for a minute.
How often do we put out our bills? Twice a year?
Who
Yes.
reads them?
Well, can't we put a note saying no more bamboo TP?
So let me be, I'm going to be brutally honest and realistic for a minute. We've been asking for the past 10 years for folks not to flush baby wipes and adult wipes, and it's done absolutely nothing to discourage them.
Feminine product.
Anything. It's done absolutely nothing to discourage. Bamboo is just another one of those fibrous products that people are going to use because it saves them money. They don't care about the consequences, but they just look at what's best for their needs
They
and save
will
money.
if we start increasing our fees because it's costing us more to process the unflushables
And that
that
may,
don't biodegrade.
and that may be the answer to charge more, because we have to. It takes man-hours to go out there and derag these pumps on a
Yep.
regular basis.
I just wanted to make
It's
sure
cost.
that this is
It's a
not good.
major cost. This is
So
not good.
we got to get the message out there, sorry, people, no more
Would you take a shot at how much it costs?
No, I wouldn't. It's quite a bit. I would have to go back to all the call-outs, because remember, they're time and a half and double time. I have to go back to each call-out, minimum 3 hours, and do the math. But it's a consistent thing. It isn't.
And this is at every pump station?
Yes, at every pump station, one time or another, some more frequent, like 13th Street Pump Station in Wewiantic is constant. Those pumps are constantly tripping out because they get bound, and every time a pump binds and you create that internal heat in the pump, you're de-lifing it. It's going to die sooner. And so now I got to replace that pump and do the process all over again.
Which one is that, 13th Street?
Yeah, 13th
Where's that service?
Wewiantic.
So that's just all of the first through, what is it, 14?
Yeah, 17th, something like that, that little stretch right there.
That's just that section?
Just that section there. There's,
That's not the one by the playground, is it?
no, that is Hathaway.
Oh, that's Hathaway. So we're up at well, that's
Wee Wee Antic, that's Wee Wee Antic.
Yeah, okay.
And Hathaway, we have a shed because 13th will push it, whatever they can push, to Hathaway. It's just, and then
Okay.
Hathaway will push it
So,
down to,
the message for the people,
Kennedy.
stop flushing those things that don't, if it's not TP or from you, don't flush.
that's it.
But the problem that, you don't think of, I mean, you're talking about a specific, i.e. bamboo, or you're talking about the feminine wipes and the other stuff, but you forget about the little things like Kleenex. That doesn't belong down there because that's fibrous also,
It's fibrous.
but you don't think of that, because you use it, it's probably got a container of it right on the back of your toilet, you stay there, you use it, where's it
Yeah,
going? Right
everybody
down.
has one, you blow your nose
But
and you
I'm
put
sa-
it
but what I'm
down.
saying,
Put it
that
down the
doesn't
toilet.
belong down there either.
It's a major problem. It's a major problem. I think the industry sued Procter and Gamble, and they're settling a lawsuit. So they'll give everybody a dime, and it'll go away, but they haven't admitted any fault. They just said, well, we'll work with you, and they're settling a lawsuit because Procter and Gamble, all these guys have been sued.
Are you suggesting then that we sue them for the town's basis?
The town can sue them. The town can sue them, but that, first of all, that suit would cost us millions because they'll drag it out. I mean, the federal government
Well,
and
Richard do it
attorney
for-
generals have sued.
Richard do it for free, wouldn't
Yeah, that's a good point. Just for the fun of it, just for the
he? I
challenge.
would think so.
Just for the newspaper.
Just the notoriety of it all.
But yeah, it's crazy. So, and that was in, I forget what publication we got, but it said lawsuit, and it was a pittance what each individual community is going to get, but they're saying it's a step in the right direction. They'll never admit fault, but they've acknowledged that they got to be more careful on what they word, how they word the product, et cetera, and that type of thing.
Do you think that it's just not, I don't want to use the word ignorance, but I can't think of another, but it's not intentional ignorance that people are putting these fibers down there?
I don't think, for the most part, it's vindictive. I don't think it's malice intent.
That's my point.
I think it's more
It's
of-
convenient.
It's convenient to them, inconvenient to do it any other way, and it's lack of consequences, lack of responsibility, lack of accountability. I'll give you an example. We sat in front of a house, and I won't mention the house, in Wee Antic, and I put a camera truck there, and we watched baby wipes come out of his soil pipe. We knocked on his door, and we invited him over, we showed him. He says, yeah, so what's your point? And I explained the problem to him. He said, well, that's your problem. I have children, and you think I'm going to change the way I do things? Because they're stinky here, stinky. No, we ain't going that way. Poof, out of sight, out of mind. So that's the public.
So what you're saying is he's one of the ones that he needs to have a grinder pump
Yeah,
at his house.
in his house, because then the
Seriously.
problem becomes his.
Yeah, seriously.
It becomes his.
I mean, I think that, I don't know how we go about it or if there's a way to go about it, but maybe as you camera, you find that issue, you note that house has to have a grinder pump, it goes in, period, end of story, sayonara.
Because
Go home.
grinder pumps really,
Because they won't
really
remember till tomorrow.
eliminate a lot of problems, a lot of problems.
You know,
And I know people
Not a
have their
proponent of that, but.
druthers, but for us, selfishly, it solves a lot of issues. I think it's settled as Glen, settled as Cove, settled as something. They're trying to go from selling to rental.
Yeah, from a
And-
condominiums to rental off of Red Brook.
So I said to them that, well, okay, that's great, we'll have to have grinder pumps because there's gonna be a lot of non-flushables. I'm like, well, we'll have to talk about that. No, we've made that policy. When we did the 40B on the other 40B, we said, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
We didn't say you had an option, and we put it part of the conditions. And I want to make sure the same conditions apply to this 40B, because they're not special, they have no special consideration that I wouldn't give someone else, because it creates a major headache for us. a major headache.
Well, you're saying it's a major headache, it's worse than that. It creates a major expense
Expense.
for all the users.
Yes,
It has nothing, headache aside, it creates a dollar cash out-of-pocket expense. It's what's prompting us to look at a rate increase. We're doing a rate increase, not because we want to do a rate increase, but because you've got so many people out there that are not doing their part in trying to help maintain the system and keep the costs down. So, and at this point, we don't have an avenue or a way to single out those individuals throughout that are the culprits, the main culprits, and penalize them directly. So the alternative is an across-the-board rate increase, which is not pleasant to anticipate, but that's what's gonna happen.
the cost, it's
I
expensive.
mean, I look at the numbers on anything, the minute you put sewer associated with a particular part or product or anything else, the price triples. Product may be no better than the one you got for 15 cents, but now it's $15 for the same thing. It's absurd. And with the structure in Massachusetts, where you have to do bidding on everything, where you can't go with the lowest cost person who does the best job, which doesn't necessarily translate into the lowest price. But he is the lowest cost overall if he's gonna do the best job and provide the best products. You know, you can't go with him because that's not a condition of, you know,
Procurement, no,
procurement.
it's
So
cheapest.
that's absurd.
The less
I
expensive,
mean,
the
it's,
cheapest.
you know, who are we gonna pimp for next? That's what it comes down to.
It is. I get that the procurement laws are trying to protect the consumer, but what they're actually doing to the taxpayer
heard
is
them.
increasing the cost, because what we may save today, we're paying astronomically down the road, and I don't think that anybody looks at the consequences long-term. It's that immediate gratification, I'm saving $1 today, I'm good.
It's a
But
McDonald's
that-
society.
But that buck is gonna cost you a lot of money, and that's the shame of it all, but that's just the way
Thought
it
we
is.
set a policy that all new connections were gonna be grinder pumps.
We talked about in low areas, and they are, but we didn't say across the board.
Why?
Where are we with grinder pumps of Swiss
Why not?
Beach?
We're almost there. We're still doing the engineering. We've got the surveying done. I'll get you up, I'll let you know
Why
exactly
didn't
where
we
we are.
take it across the board?
Because we never
didn't.
brought that up.
You didn't. It was, at that point, we decided to do the low areas, and that was it, and we haven't made any other decision across the board.
So if we installed, I'm going back to Swiss Beach,
Mm-hmm.
do they know that if they get a grinder pump, their,
They own
Some
it.
pumps are gonna
some
go
pumps
somewhere.
have to go someplace, and
Well,
have
they-
we given them an alternative to where it might go, because it can't go in the street?
Why do we have to give them the alternative?
I think it's just courteous that we give them some options.
Do we give them an option for the rainwater?
Then let them choose which option they implement, but if we know
I
that,
think you're opening a can of worms.
if we say to them, put in a dry well, that's an option.
Not
They may
down
not
there.
know of
Not down there it is. There isn't any such thing as a dry well down there.
So where would they put it? Just let it flow in the backyard?
That's why I think you're opening
bay.
a can of worms.
In the bay. Well, hose down to the bay.
No, you can't put it in the street, because that's against our bylaw.
Put it in the eelgrass.
Why is it a bylaw? I didn't know, it probably is. I didn't know
Yeah,
it
you
was.
It
can't
is.
discharge into the
It's not supposed
stormwater,
to run down your driveway onto the street.
including washing your car.
So they prefer it in the sewer.
Well, yeah.
So you're taking away options, and so people put it someplace that's outside, and I will stick it
At
in the
least you
sewer.
treat it before, never mind.
No,
Stormwater
I
is
get
another
you,
whole
'cause
big
it's-
issue in
it's
this
a-
town.
So I'm gonna address your courtesy, because you're right, we want to be courteous. I just get dismayed because the courtesy of people not putting it in the sewer, we don't get. We don't get the same courtesy that we're going to express to
Well, if
them.
we say to them, you're about to get a grinder pump, it requires you to disconnect your sump pump. They're gonna say, now what? And we're gonna say, put a hose in the backyard?
I'm gonna say go on the website
I'm
and
telling,
research
don't
it.
open your mouth.
Saying, don't say anything. Say it's up to you?
I'm asking them to do their research.
It's a no-win situation, Sandy. I mean, if you go down there, at the moon tides, the lawn is underwater. Where are you gonna put a dry well?
On the roof?
A raised system. No, I'm just kidding, yeah, remember the raised septic
And it's
system?
getting worse.
System.
It's
No,
getting
great.
that, it's
And it's getting worse.
down the end of Agawam Beach. It's getting that way.
Agawam Beach. Do we have some pumps down there?
No.
No, we don't have sewer down there.
We canceled that project.
No, we don't, I know we don't have sewer down there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we canceled that project.
But the,
I thought Agawam Beach was higher than most,
Only on one end.
only on one end.
yeah, where Walton lives.
So, well,
So
this
that,
past
so
year.
we'll try to put it in the,
island
just
of
to
Walton.
wrap what you're trying, maybe we'll add it again, we'll add bamboo, whatever, to the billing, so that.
It says, please,
Yeah, just, we'll
No
try.
flush, even flushable is not flushable.
We'll do our very
Could-
best.
Could you, without too much expense, get an idea of what it would cost, what the costs of clearing these pumps are in a 6-month period? And we wrote a letter and included with the bill that the next 6 months, the bill is going up by whatever that cost is, you know, broken down so that everybody gets screwed because some people won't play by the rules. And literally say it that way.
That we, in 6 months, we will increase the cost of your sewer because of this cost that you're not accommodating.
We
You're-
can't,
you
we
afford to
can't absorb this cost,
cost anymore.
so,
If you want to use your,
so if you want to go talk to your filthy neighbors, straighten it out.
yeah, well,
Just let me throw this up there. We have to be careful, because billing is regulated, and we have to be careful. So if I'm gonna bill somebody for something, I have to substantiate it. I can say it.
no, it's going to cross the board to everybody.
That's right. It's gotta go across, and we
That's
gotta
right.
say
That's
the
what we're not
cost of,
saying.
But I want you to, I want you to say that,
cost of cleaning pumps, cost of whatever, yes.
just like the people that have the sump pumps, they are literally forcing everybody else to subsidize them.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct.
Okay, and it'll be the same thing with this fibrous material.
So cleaning the rags cost
So
us
just get
this-
a rough idea what it costs in 6 months, and then we'll warn them. Next month, or the next billing period, it's going up because of this.
We recoup the costs of, recoup our costs of doing it.
Right.
I mean, yes, so what would we do?
No, I just want to be, I'll read again billing, just to be sure, but I think we're fine, because we can justify it, we have a means of being equitable in the billing. I just want to be careful, that's all, because it does say that we can recoup funds from those that harm the system, we have that
Oh, we're
right,
just-
so.
it's
But
gonna
we
cross
have
the
no way
board.
of
I'm not going to pick and choose
determining that.
somebody.
No, I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying, I hear what you're saying, so I think we're
But the
good.
neighbors know.
The neighbors know everything,
That's right.
neighbors know what's going on.
Okay, we last raised the rate in January 2021. Now it's time to consider doing it, because it's been a year.
I believe
Yeah, we have to do
I believe we discussed that at the last
Yes, I
meeting.
know, but we're still not there.
Well, no, it's still not there. We're gonna wait for. we're looking
Final
for
numbers, what
information
we
to
got.
come in.
Sorry, Jimmy.
We're looking for some information from Guy right at the moment.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out our capital costs and what we're gonna be getting, and so then we can go and have a.
So when
more
we
real
make the
number.
rate, we will do a rate increase. We have some paperwork in front of us as to what was used to determine the percentage of increase that's
That's
necessary.
why we're not doing anything until we have that.
Okay.
And this is in addition to that.
This could very well be an additional
Yes, say-
6 months later,
That
another
can all
fee.
be explained in the letter.
Yep.
That the annual 3% increase plus,
What's going to be the cost of taking care of the rags that are clogging up our system.
So the actual increase, electricity is up 11% to date, we haven't even gotten to our electrical problem yet. That's the winter, it's already up 11%. So I can give you numbers, hard numbers I already have, the increase to date, percent increase. So
Well, can't-
I'll bring all that to you
can't
so
we,
you can
we
base
cover that through Build Back Better?
Build Back Better, yeah, we're not, so Build Back Better is bothering me because that money, the same thing, infrastructure's becoming cyberspace. It's becoming everything but infrastructure. That's concerning me.
It's a new soccer field in Hanson, Mass.
It's concerning me. And, you know, and I'm going to be frank, and it's not a political statement, it's that because our congressmen and senators go down there representing our state, they try to grab things for our state, whether it's, if you will, appropriate or not appropriate, and this is happening in 50 states. And so everybody's got their own pet project or their pet thing, everybody. And so it
I thought that
dilutes.
was known as pork.
Well, it is, but I didn't want to go there because many people eat at the trough. The trough is, but anyways, it's everywhere.
So everybody gets the pork and we get the beans.
And we get, the beans. We get the job not being done. We still got bad roads, bad bridges, bad sewer, bad water, but everybody else is good.
Is Grisilla working?
It is. Come down, I'll show you.
Is it full? Is
is.
it being fed enough?
It is.
Have
We're taking a lot of grease.
Have we got enough revenue to pay the cost, repay the cost of it yet?
Greasella's been paid.
Okay, so it's still
Now it's
working.
profitable. It's paid.
It's now giving us a
That's right.
profit.
It's paid for it. It's helped us, like last year, we made roughly $1 million in revenues.
Okay,
that
so
we're
everybody
using-
who made fun of Grisilla, now we're saying, hey, it's helping.
I'll give them something else to make fun of.
Okay.
Because people need something to make fun of. People aren't happy unless they can criticize or make fun of something. So we'll do our very best to give them something. We try to accommodate the public. Yeah, it's actually doing good. We're making money. $1 million
good.
we made. And that money is helping us do things that the ratepayers don't understand that their rates have not gone up in the last 12 years substantially, and we're doing everything we can to keep the rates down by projects, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
And-
maybe it's
and
time
I
to-
don't think it's understandable, but now it's time
Donna
to raise the
here, if
rates.
Donna was here, she says it's time to,
Raise the rates. It's time
Yes.
to do it. We need to. We have to.
before we, spring town meeting is coming up. We need to start talking about what we're going to be submitting for articles for capital expenditures for the sewer plant and projects.
I'll try to get a letter.
Because more than likely, comes February or March, they're going to ask for a deadline of submitting articles, and we haven't even started talking about what we would be asking for at special spring or spring town meeting. So please, if you
When
could
is the
put,
Springtown meeting?
always the 4th April.
It's in the spring,
The
Jim.
4th Monday in April. So normally
Good, I'm glad that,
I would say the articles need to be in by March,
In the spring.
in the spring, yeah, as opposed to March in the fall.
That's right. That's right.
along with the
But I just don't want us find ourselves up against a deadline and not talk about it or present a article or submit an article for consideration.
So in January, I'll have a concept of all the projects that really need to be done this year and next year, and then
Yep.
we'll start whittling it down, talk
And that
about funding
includes the
it.
4 million for the Narrows Force Main, because we don't have any funding for that.
We don't. I was gonna
It's
try to
on
take
capital
that.
planning, but no funding.
Well, the funding is just a
No,
minor detail.
we need to say,
It's just a
but
minor
that type of stuff, so what else can we add to our capital request at Springtown
yes,
meeting, Jimmy? If
absolutely.
you could just keep that on the agenda so we don't
Mm-hmm.
lose that we're running out of time to submit one.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Upgrading the plant, would that include the centrifuge?
No.
Well,
We can't, so just, because we talked about putting screw presses and everything, and that's a good idea, but there's no place to take the product. You know,
yeah, but I thought if we had the centrifuge and it was dry, it was easier to get rid of.
there's no place to take it because landfills are shutting down because of PFAS. Right now in New England, getting rid of sludge is a major nightmare, to the point where Congress is involved, state legislators are involved, DEP's involved, EPA's involved, because there's no place to go. We have a contract for our liquid sludge. It's for 3 years. If we went out to bid, then I have no guarantee that I have a place to take my sludge. People are hurting right now. There's more need than places to go. Incinerators are shutting down. We don't build incinerators. We build nothing that's needed because they're costly, and there's a lot of pollution associated that they're stopping. So we're in trouble.
If we can't get rid of this, and no one else can get rid of theirs,
Pollution, it's called.
where does it go?
pollute-
Someone dumps it into the,
Goes in the rivers. It goes into the oceans. It becomes a pollutant because we remove solids from our
Yeah,
plants.
it's that, it's, the sludge, people, is the solids that don't get treated.
That's right.
So,
So if we have no place to take those solids,
Solids.
they stay in the system because you have no place to go with them. So that means that it's just gonna blow over the system
it's
and go
hard
into
to
the
believe
river.
that nobody is looking at this higher than us as a what are we going to do? Maybe if they dump their sludge in their
Well,
backyard
I
of
think
their.
if you listen to what he just said, he said that Congress is looking at it.
Everybody's looking at
Yeah, everybody's looking at
looking
it, but doesn't give
but-
us a solution.
We're looking at it, we don't have a solution. You know,
Well, hey,
It's a tough, see, it's,
I think about how the
We know
hell
what
does
the
Boston do?
There's a
What does
concept.
Boston do?
Boston, they make their own, they make pellets, they make their own pellets, and they're having a hard time giving it. Boston takes it over to the pellet plant, they make pellets to sell to farmers, et cetera, and they're even struggling because they don't want it anymore. Here's the issue, and I don't want to lose sight of it. In United States, we've been making products forever that is full of PFAS. PFAS is now in our water. It's in everything. And now they're trying to regulate it, and that means that if you're a landfill, and I bring you a product with PFAS in it, and the federal government says that you, the landfill, are responsible, are you gonna take my product? Ain't touching it.
Nope.
And that's the issue. It's happened across the country, but New England mostly, because a lot of part of the country, they still land apply. We don't land apply anymore. We don't do any of that, so we're in trouble. And PFAS, and what bothers me is the manufacturers, and the Teflon coatings and fire retardant, clothing and fire department, all of that stuff, we love it. We all consume it, we love it, it's great, but we don't think of the repercussion or the consequences, which is the PFAS, which is polluting. And matter of fact, it's in your system. And if you did a PFAS test, you'll find your system, and we just want to make sure it meets the numbers that says it's non-toxic to you.
so you're
But it's in
Teflon
everybody.
coated in your system.
Everybody.
right.
That's right.
From fire retardant.
And what troubles me, just it's a personal thing, is that the manufacturers that have made the billions, they're okay. You and I, taxpayers, got to figure out a solution.
Okay. You've
Anyways,
answered all
that's
my
up, that's all.
topics that I wanted to talk about. I'm done.
Okay.
Surprise.
Peter, I think you're on.
I make a motion,
Before you go, is next meeting before Christmas, right?
16th.
I'm kind of thinking we should
Need it?
do you should be here, but I think we should do a Christmas sweater. You know those the ugly sweaters?
Ugly
type
sweaters
thing?
contest?
I'm thinking for that meeting, we should do ugly sweaters.
what?
It's just a thought.
The
Ugly sweaters?
The ugly sweater. Ugly Christmas sweater, the ugliest Christmas sweater.
Just thinking out loud. I'm just thinking out loud.
Sounds good
Anyways,
to me.
that's all I had to say.
Hey, that's probably what I wear anyhow.
Yeah. Do you ever see, every year you wear a sweater that has some, I have one that says, it quotes Macaulay Culkin, I think in that movie Home Alone, get out of here, you suck, whatever, and I have, and it says Merry Christmas, whatever, and I
are
have,
you telling me now there's a dress code for this board?
well, I was just thinking that we should
Ugly
do.
sweaters.
Ugly sweater, I don't know, it's just a thought,
It's not a bad thought.
Well, Peter, you were going to say something.
Sorry about that.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of, we're adjourning at
I wrote it down.
7:37.